When you're discarded by a narcissist, there's a whole process to go through for your recovery. And if you don't take certain steps, then the recovery process for your healing might not be smooth and it might be counterproductive. So in this video, I just wanted to go through a few important steps which you should consider, be aware of, and take as part or shortly after you've been discarded by the narcissist. And the first point is just to accept the chaos, the initial chaos that you feel when you've been discarded. Because your mind will be confused, you'll be trying to work out, what the hell just happened. You're not going to be thinking clearly. And it's really hard to make any sudden decisions, anything of that nature. So just as a first step, just accept the chaos that comes with being discarded, because that's natural. And unless you accept that and kind of go with it, then everything else is more difficult. Secondly, make it your mission. Like, make it your ultimate challenge, your ultimate mission, not to reach out to them. At all costs, avoid reaching out to them. I know you're going to have the urge, you're going to have this instinctive urge to reach out to them. Just use your rational mind, any ounce of reasoning, not to do it. And just know that if you don't reach out to them, if you don't chase them, everything will be better because of that. It will take time for you to get the results you want, which is feeling better and healing from the discard. But if you want to get set down a healthy process for healing, you cannot reach out to them. Do your best to avoid stalking their social media. If you have intrusive thoughts about them, let it go through your system. You can't control it. Don't feed your intrusive thoughts about the narcissist, but just don't reach out to them. A third thing, which is important as part of the healing process, is to stay sober, at least for the first few weeks, maybe months. If you're somebody who used to drink a lot, used to do drugs, look, when you've broken up with a narcissist, your mind is trying to process a lot of information, a lot of dissonance. It's going through withdrawals. There's a lot happening there. You're basically going through the withdrawal process of not consuming a certain drug, which is the narcissist which you were consuming. Being in a sober state helps all of that be processed more easily, more productively. Things fall into a better place when you're sober. Even if you don't notice material gains in the first few days or weeks, even if you stay sober, improvement is happening. It might be very small, baby steps, kind of microscopic changes on a moment-by-moment basis, but there are improvements happening. So just stay sober. And the fourth thing is, obviously you'll be going through this confusion. You're trying to process a lot of information. Your instinctive mind is in chaos is in conflict with your rational mind. Start to softly focus on the simple things and try to appreciate the simple things. Maybe just the silence of your bedroom or a park. Notice it and appreciate it. Appreciate the nice weather if there's nice weather. Softly acknowledge that you're no longer being subject to toxic manipulations, that you're regaining control, that you are becoming the driver of your own vessel. And if you spend time with people you love and people you trust, appreciate their presence. But importantly, remember that when you're healing, when you've been through something traumatic, you don't want to spend too much time with people generally. You do need a fair amount of alone time just to process things. So even though you want to appreciate the presence of some people, just don't forget that a fair amount of alone time is important, and it's just a healthy way of putting things into a good place. The fifth step, and again, this isn't necessarily chronological. These are separate steps and separate factors to consider, but they can come together in different ways. But the fifth thing I wanted to mention was just centering yourself, kind of bringing your energy back to yourself. When you're sitting quiet with yourself, kind of focus on your breathing a little bit. Get used to doing that. Softly acknowledge your thoughts, and softly acknowledge that, you control your thoughts. Your thoughts don't have to be the ones that hold you captive. Okay? Let the chaos wither away and kind of focus your energy back into your core. When you're not thinking too much about other people or the toxicity of the past, you're not throwing your energy out there in the world and in the past and the future and towards other people. Just kind of bring it back to you. Keep your thoughts neutral. Try not to engage in negative thoughts. And if they come, just kind of don't feed the thoughts. Bring your energy, bring your attention back to yourself. Kind of appreciate the silence. Appreciate the energy that you kind of feel around you. You appreciate your bodily functions, your breathing, and just pay attention to yourself a bit more. And you'll find that you'll be able to center yourself and find yourself being more grounded. It also helps to weaken the trauma bond. You can become more independent in yourself and the way you feel. And the sixth thing I wanted to mention is just acknowledge, once you've as time goes by and you're trying to bring your energy back to yourself, you're trying to process out the toxicity, just acknowledge that you did go through an abusive relationship, and there is a lot of learning and wisdom that comes from that. And try to be grateful for what you've learned and the improvements that you would have experienced. Maybe you've acquired new practices, like, maybe certain mindfulness techniques you would have learned, or maybe you've learned to appreciate the simple things more, or maybe you've learned to have a little bit more control over your thoughts, or maybe you just simply understand certain personalities and disorders better. There's so much learning and wisdom that can come from it. Try to give some appreciation to the things you learn. But of course, don't ever think, oh, I want to go back to this person so I can be abused more, so I can learn more lessons. No. You've been with that person long enough to learn enough lessons to steer you probably for the rest of your life. Just don't go back to them, but do take on board the lessons. And the seventh point I want to mention is, after you kind of go through the process of the other things I've mentioned, and you start to heal and you start to center yourself and you start to feel a bit more uplifted, look, it's in all likelihood the narcissist is going to reach out to you. They just have a way of knowing when you're healing and doing better. They'll reach out to you. So as you heal, as you kind of move forward, just realize the narcissist will be attracted to you again. It's the way they're wired. Narcissists are wired to be reattracted to people who they've discarded when those people are doing well again. And when they do reach out to you, you might have this overwhelming compulsion to entertain them. And that's where the eighth step comes in, which is, when they reach out to you, when they hoover, just don't give them the space. Don't entertain them. Radio silence. They don't need anything more than radio silence from you. You're not going to let them come back. And if for some reason you have to face them face to face, maybe you have children together or whatnot, look, just gray rock. Be boring. Don't let them kind of see what's going on in you. Just be as unassuming, unappealing as you can be. And if you haven't gray rock before, read about it, learn about it. Look, it works. And just, as much as you can, just try to be oblivious to their presence. And yeah, just don't entertain them. And the ninth point, which I'm going to mention, is just to keep that door shut. Some bridges you don't want to keep open. And when you've had a toxic ex-narcissist in your life, look, you don't want that bridge to be open. Just make sure they stay out. Work on keeping them out.